Hey guys, hope you all had a great weekend and are ready to get back to work. This is Monday's video. I'm going to follow the same format I did last week. Post a video on Monday, and the half of the worksheet will be over that. Hopefully this one's pretty easy. It should be to review because I've noticed some people struggling with the basics. And the next topic we're doing would be really hard if you don't understand those basics. So we're doing a little bit of review today, and then Wednesday we'll jump into subtraction of mixed fractions. So you will have a worksheet. I think it has 25 problems on it, and about half of it will be on today's video, and the other half will be on Wednesday's video. So remember, they're due to me by noon on Friday, and I have Zoom hours, the same as I did last week. I will post those in the comments and on Facebook and in Remind. So if you have any friends out there that aren't getting the reminds, make sure that them or their parents have signed up so that they know what they're supposed to be doing. If you got the packets from the school, they will have an extra math stuff. I will give you credit for doing those, but it's not required. That's not what I'm asking you to do. Those were actually put in there by mistake, and they're just extra work. So, okay, so here is Monday's video. Okay, so I noticed last week the converting fraction stuff is a little, some people are still having some issues with it. So if you are totally good with it, then you should fly through this assignment. And if not, I wanted to make sure that everybody had time to practice before we got to subtracting mixed numbers, because without having that base knowledge, it can be very difficult, okay? So for today, this should be just review, shouldn't be anything really new. Even if you don't remember it, it's not new. Okay, so simplest form. We actually talked about this prior to spring break. Remember, simplest form is when they have no common factors. And so like if I end up with an answer of 3/9, 3/9 is not wrong. It's just not, I think I remember telling you this in class, it's just not the pretty version that the math people like. We like things to be in their simplest form, their most reduced form. So we're looking at these 6 numbers. Some of them are in simplest form and some of them are not. Look at these 6, pause the video, and try to figure out which ones are in simplest form. So which ones cannot be reduced any further. Okay, got them? So 3/9. Does 3 and 9 have something in common? Is there something that you can divide both numbers by? Yes, there is. You can divide both of these by 3. So if I divide both of these by 3, and it's kind of small, I can't do this on every one of them. And then 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. So 1/3 is the simplest form. It's an equivalent fraction to 3/9, but it's in the simplest form because there's nothing that 1 and 3 can both be divided by other than 1. Okay, what about 4/13? Is there any number that will go into 4 and 13? No. Okay, so 4/13 is in its simplest form. You can't go any further. There's nothing, 13 is actually a prime number, so you can't divide it by anything. 6/24. Does 6 and 24 have anything in common? Think about this one. A lot of people think, okay, well, they're both even. If both even numbers are even, then you know they can go down further. So if I divide these by 2, and I know some of you are probably screaming at me right now going, you can divide by something bigger, and you can. They have 2 in common. Oops, I got to thinking there. They got 2 in common. They've got 3 in common. They have 6 in common. They have a bunch of things in common, but I wanted to show you what happens if you divide by 6 or divide by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 24 divided by 2 is 12. So when you look at that and go, okay, well, I reduced it, but is it in simplest form? So does 3 and 12 have anything in common? Yes, it does. You can divide by 3. Divide by 3. Okay, 3 divided by 3 is 1. 12 divided by 3 is 4. So simplest form of 6/24 is 1/4. And so you have to keep dividing. The same thing as what we did. If you multiply the top, multiply the bottom. If you divide the top, you divide the bottom. As long as you divide by the same number, top and bottom, you're fine. You're not going to break any math laws. Okay. So, and there's nothing 1/4 can divide any further by. Okay, so let's look at 3/5. 3/5. Does 3 and 5 have anything in common? Anything that will go into both of those numbers? No. So 3 3/5 is in its simplest form. You can't do anything with it. 5/30. Does 5 and 30 have anything in common? Any number that can divide into 5 and 30. Okay, they have 5 in common. So I can divide by 5, divide by 5. And so 5 divided by 5 is 1. 30 divided by 5 is 6. 1/6 is the simplest form. If you ever get a 1 in there, you're done. 1 can't break down any further. Okay, 2/14. Now, like I said before, if you're struggling, make sure if they're both even, they can definitely go down further. So they're both even. So think about, what does 2 and 14 have in common? Okay, they're both even, so they have to have 2 in common. So if I divide by 2, I'm sorry, my little vision signs are weird there. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 14 divided by 2 is 7. So simplest form is 1/7. So simplest forms means that they have to go down to their simplest form, nothing in common. They don't have any factors in common. So like I said, I know we talked about this before spring break, but I want to make sure that everybody's there. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about these, put these in simplest form. Numbers 1 through 6 on your worksheet for today is writing them in simplest form. Okay, so if you, after we do these, if you want to pause the video and go do numbers 1 through 6, okay, good strategy before we move on to a new topic. So 6 and 18, what does 6 and 18 have in common? Preferably the biggest number they have in common, so that you only have to do this once. If you choose 2 or 3, you're going to have to do it again. What's the biggest number that will go into 6 and 18? 6. So if I divide by 6, 6 divided by 6 is 1. 18 divided by 6 is 3. Does 1 and 3 have anything in common? No. So that is simplest form. 4/40. What does 4 and 40 have in common? Okay, big 2 is an option, but there is something bigger. Okay, 4. So I would divide by 4, divide by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 40 divided by 4 is 10. So 1/10 is a simplest form. Okay, last one, 8/16. So what does 8 and 16 have in common? And I'll just show you an example. If you think 2 or even 4, let's do 4. 4 in common, so divide by 4. 8 divided by 4 is 2. 16 divided by 4 is 4. Notice they're both still even, so you could go further. Divide by 2 again, or divide by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Now that is simplest form, 1/2. Okay, so I have to go all the way down. So if you want to stop the video right now and go to the worksheet and do numbers 1 through 6, that would probably be good. Otherwise, I'm going to move on to the next topic. Okay. Okay, convert improper and mixed fractions. So when we are converting back and forth, and I did a whole little thing on this last week with all the pictures. I'm going to go over that stuff again. There's 2 different ways to write a fraction. You got improper, which is where the numerator is larger than the denominator. And I've heard people say, well, that's just wrong. It's not pretty, okay? That's not usually how people want it written. You're not going to tell somebody you have 7/4 of a pizza. You're going to tell them I have 1 3/4 of a pizza. And then mixed means that you have the whole number in there with a fraction. They are the same thing. They are equivalent. But depending on what you're doing, you know, who wants different answers, okay? So, like when we talked about last week, 9/5 and 1 4/5. And guys, if this made sense to you last week, you are free to turn off the video at this moment and go do the rest of the first page of the worksheet. Numbers 7 through 14 are converting mixed and improper. So if you're good with it, go do it. I saw some people drawing these pictures on their paper last week. That's good. It's a great visualization to be able to look at and kind of make sense of. So let's pretend this is a pizza split up into 5 pieces. So each one, this little piece of pizza, turn my pen on. This little piece of pizza is a 1/5. I've got 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, 5/5. 5/5 is 1, okay? And then over here, I got 4 more. So all in all, I have 9/5 because I have 9 of these. Okay, so I have 9/5 of a pizza because each little piece is a fifth. But I also have a whole pizza. I have 5 out of 5, which is 1, or more on the other pizza. So I have 5/5 and 4/5, which is 9/5, but it's also 1 and 4/5. Okay, so it's just 2 different ways to write a fraction. And it is important that you're able to go back and forth with these, because when we do subtraction, conversion is actually the easier way. I'm going to show you 2 methods, but this is actually the easier way. So write the improper fraction as a mixed fraction. So this is numbers 7 through 10 on your worksheet. I have 11/6, so I color in a whole one. That gives me 6/6. And then I need how many sixths more to make 11/6? I need 5 more. So I have 5, oops, not that piece. So that gives me 11/6, or it also gives me 1 and 5/6. Okay, so 11/6 is the same as 1 and 5/6. Just 2 different ways to write it. Okay, let's go to the next one. 23/10. And without the picture, I will tell you what most people do is without the pictures, they say, okay, 10 will go into 23 how many times? Okay, it'll go in, 10 goes into 23 2 times with how many left over? So 2 times 10 is 20. How many more do I need? 3. So 3/10. So it's not something you have to draw a picture for. Think about in your head. 10 goes into 23 2 times, so that's 2 wholes with 3 left over. If you need the picture, you know this right here gives you 10/10. One more is going to give you 20/10. I'm at 20 now, so I need 3 more. So this is 1. Change my color so you can see that. Okay, this is 1. This is 1, and then you have 3/10. So 1 plus 1 is 2, and 3/10. Okay, so 2 different ways. If you need the picture, do the picture. The more you do the picture, though, you should be able to start doing it more in your head. Okay, hopefully that has cleared that up if you were confused about that. So now going backwards, and this is numbers 11 through 14 on the worksheet. So 1 and 6, I want to write 1 and 1/6 as an improper fraction, which makes my denominator smaller than my numerator. Okay, so 1 and 1/6. So 1 means I'm going to color in a whole thing here, which means I get 6/6. And then I have 1 more 6th. Okay, so I have 1 and 1/6. But I also have 6/6 and 1/6, and if I add those together, I get 7/6. So all in all, I have 7/6. So this 1 gives me 6 out of 6, plus the 1/6. So if you think about it like that. There's also a mathematical way. People do 6 times 1 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Okay, that is a kind of an advanced thing. So if you can think about it like that, if it makes sense to you, you do 6 times 1 plus 1, and that'll give you your number. And then the denominator stays the same all the time. So 1 and 1/6 is the same as 7/6. Of those. Okay, 2 and 3/8. So let's kind of think about it in our head for a second. Let's not do the picture this time right away. So the thing I just told you, you can do 8 times 2 is 16, plus 3 is 19. And so your answer would be 19/8. If that just totally confused you, okay, think about if you have 2. You know it's going to be 8 because that's your denominator, so that's going to stay the same. So if you have 2 wholes, that's 2 times 8 is 16. Plus, you have an additional 3 pieces. So plus 3 gives you 19. And then you put it over the denominator that you've been using the whole time. Okay, if you need the picture, And think about 2, okay? You've got 2 whole pizzas here, plus 3 pieces of this third pizza. So you've got 1, 2, and 3/8. So this is 8/8, 8, and this is 3/8. And if I add those all together, I get 8 plus 8 is 16, plus 3 is 19/8. Okay, so a couple of different ways to think about it. But I want you to get some practice on that and get a little better at that. Okay. Okay. So subtracting mixed fractions will be on Wednesday. It's actually on the other side of this worksheet. And if you know how to do it, you know, you can try it, try a couple and see how it goes. It is a little bit different because the subtraction adds an extra step to it. And if you can do the things I just went over, the review stuff, then it's going to be easier for you. I've got Zoom tutoring today from 1 to 2, Tuesday from 6 to 7, Thursday from 3 to 4, and Friday 10 to 11. And this worksheet has 25 questions all week to do it, and it's due Friday by noon. Okay, I got most people's last week, but I did have a few missing. Okay, so good luck. Come to my Zoom meetings if you have any questions or if you just want to say hi.